Hello and welcome to this webinar. My name is Deep Chahal and I'm a project manager with Synergy Foundation. And I've worked with businesses across the province to assess and improve their environmental performance, as well as create educational webinars on various topics of sustainability. Before we begin, I'd like to share a little bit about Synergy Foundation. Since 2013, our nonprofit has been driving innovation in green businesses, circular economy initiatives, and food security programs. Through key projects like BC Green Business and Project Zero, we've supported hundreds of businesses in making these sustainable shifts. We're excited to have you here as a part of the Squamish webinar series, which is funded by the province of BC's Rural Economic Diversification and Infrastructure Program. Okay, let's dive in. And on the agenda today will be an introduction to circular economy, followed by the impact of tourism and making a case for why we should be incorporating circular economy in tourism, as well as looking at some businesses that have already made the shift. So let us start by looking at the problem that circular economy is trying to address, and that is in 2020, the mass of human-made materials officially outweighed all living biomass. This means that everything we've produced from buildings, cars, plastic now surpasses the combined weight of all plants, animals, and marine life on Earth. This statistic underscores why we need to rethink our consumption and waste habits. And this calculation only included objects that are in use and not waste. With waste included, human-made mass outweighed biomass way back in 2013. So this essentially tells us that we are extracting far too many virgin resources, most of which are destined for pollution. With our current linear economic model, we need to decouple economic growth and natural resource consumption. So currently, most businesses operate in a linear economy. The traditional linear economy model can be described by the phrase take, make, waste, where resources are extracted, used, and then discarded. This model leads to massive waste and environmental degradation. In the circular economy model, raw materials and manufactured goods are designed to remain in the system. And to do this, we use processes like reduced consumption, reuse and repair, redistribution, reconditioning, recycling, all of which are powered by renewable energy. And as you can see in this diagram here, the inner loops are smaller. These are areas of circularity that are prioritized first as they keep the goods and materials in use at their highest value. So making our way through the loops, reduce is essentially telling us to use efficient consumption and production processes. Waste can be reduced and before it is even generated through reuse and repair. With continued use, maintenance, and repair, a product's useful life can be extended. Redistribution through methods like resale and donation, a product can continue to provide value throughout its useful life instead of becoming waste. Recondition, products can be restored to like new condition by a manufacturer and be redistributed to the consumers. And finally, we have recycle. Products at the end of their life are separated into their base materials, which re-enter the production process to create new products. And recycling is generally seen as the last option as it is the most energy intensive and requires major changes to the goods. When all other re-entry mechanisms are exhausted, that is when recycling is utilized. Nearly 93% of all products and materials are destined for landfill, incineration, or left to break down in our waterways and on land at the end of life. This means that of all products, materials, and resources in existence, only a small percentage is re-entering the economy. So why make the shift to circular economy? Well, first up, we have climate targets. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC, stated that to limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, we need to cut emissions by nearly half by 2030. The circular economy offers promising opportunities to get us headed in the right direction, as well as the economic potential. So according to Accenture, circular economy is a $4.5 trillion opportunity. What we consider as waste can be a resource with significant untapped value. If we can shift our perception of what waste is, we have the opportunity to create new businesses and jobs, strengthen the local economy, and identify efficiencies that lower the operating costs of businesses, create cost savings through reducing waste that is being sent to the landfill, and through reduced water consumption and energy usage. The tourism sector in Squamish plays a major role in the economy. According to a 2020 tourism impact study, the tourism sector in Squamish represented 661 jobs and 95.2 million in visitor spending. Businesses involved in experiences, tours, and transportation made up 39%, accommodations and campsites made up 33%, and cafes and restaurants and pubs made up 28% of the local tourism sector. Tourism in Squamish has a lot to offer, from accommodation, transportation, recreation, eateries and pubs, retail shops, and special events. All of these businesses contribute to the culture and economy of Squamish, but they have their share of environmental impacts as well. The primary environmental impacts from tourism come from carbon emissions. So essentially travel related emissions have significant environmental impact. Air travel, which is a common way for tourists to arrive in BC, is a major contributor to carbon emissions. Additionally, road traffic and the use of transportation services like buses, ferries, taxis within BC contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. Tour buses that offer seaplane tours, motorized boat tours, ATV tours contribute to GHG emissions, along with tour companies using gas or diesel-powered vehicles to get kayakers, paddleboarders, and whitewater rafters on the water. And then we have waste generation. So tourists themselves contribute to an increase in waste, especially in areas where diversion infrastructure may not be available or convenient. This is primarily waste like packaging, plastics, and food waste. Behaviors can shift when traveling to favor convenience and single use as well. And then we have water consumption. So tourism increases the demand for water, particularly in areas where accommodations, restaurants, and other large facilities rely on large quantities of water for their guests. This will become increasingly challenging as we experience hotter, drier seasons. And then we have energy consumption. So in the hospitality sector, including hotels, resorts, any other accommodations, you require substantial energy for heating, cooling, and lighting, which can in turn have a large impact when relying on non-renewable sources of energy. So why go circular? The circular economy offers the tourism industry a pathway towards becoming more sustainable and resilient, because tourism relies on key systems like agriculture, food, transport, and construction. It has an important role to play in driving this transition. It is also a good business model. Visitors are seeking values-aligned companies that step outside the business as usual model and care about their environmental impact. According to a 2024 Sustainable Travel Report conducted by Booking.com, 75% of global travelers expressed a desire to travel more sustainably in the next 12 months, and 83% of travelers consider sustainable travel important. There are many innovative ways to reduce your impact, and sharing your circular actions makes for great storytelling and marketing to help your business, to set your business apart. So implementing circularity can take many different forms, from small actions to large infrastructure projects. No action is too small and can result in new economic opportunities and cost savings. You can apply circular economy lens across all areas of the tourism sector, from updating purchasing practices and building staff awareness to investing in training and forming partnerships that help improve your waste reduction efforts. The circular economy actions you can prioritize for your business will vary depending on your operations, but here are some actions you can take. Reduce single-use items by offering reusable alternatives like water bottles, tote bags, cutlery, and refillable toiletries. Replace plastic packaging with sustainable options, especially for food and souvenirs. Engage with local suppliers and prioritize sourcing food, materials, and products that support and boost the local economy. Choose furniture and equipment that is built to last and can be maintained and repaired. Look for opportunities to collaborate with local businesses, form partnerships, and share resources. And now I would like to bring on Maddie Best to share some real life actions taken by businesses she has worked with in implementing circular economy principles.
So the first example that I wanted to talk about was a hotel that we worked with in Nanaimo, BC. So a little bit of background, they have 179 guest rooms and over 50,000 room nights per year. So pretty significant operation. It was really great to work with them, provided an in-depth circularity assessment with some opportunities to implement circular practices. And we'll be talking about the ones that they implemented and some of the benefits of these circular practices after they were implemented. So first kind of category is just reducing and reusing. So they partnered with a service to offer reusable takeout containers, really reducing the amount of waste that was sent to landfill or recycling. And then also the amount of money that was spent on a recurring basis on single-use containers. They also had a really great practice of donating retired furniture and appliances to their team. Um, they also had a lot of single-use cups just scattered across the hotel. I think this is honestly pretty common when it comes to accommodation providers, but they replaced these with reusable cups and little busing bins and just incorporated those in their regular kind of dishes operations. A few kind of more innovative practices that they implemented after the circularity report. The first thing that they looked at was offering low carbon menus. So a lot of proteins uh, have a lot higher carbon emissions per kilogram than others. So things like red meats, especially beef, they can be replaced with lower carbon options. So things like poultry, vegetarian options, even seafood and fish, just to reduce the relative emissions from food purchases. So they did a bit of a deep dive on their menus and started swapping out some of those higher carbon, mostly beef options with some lower carbon options. Another really cool practice that they did was as they were renovating rooms, they had some retired curtains and linens. So they partnered with a local maker to transform these into new products that they could sell. And then lastly, so they implemented weekly green meetings. So put together a green team and started incorporating that into regular team meetings and culture, just finding ways to have all of the different departments keep track of their sustainability goals and help each other out with that. In addition to some of those more reuse and innovative practices, we also provided some recommendations to help them reduce their recurring costs from utilities. They had pretty significant savings. So there's a lot of pretty easy wins. If your operation doesn't already have these in place, they're very low cost retrofits or upgrades that can have really high long-term benefits just in terms of costs and usage. So first one was their water usage. They went in and installed low flow fixtures for all of their shower heads, toilets, and faucets, as well as retrofitted some of their walk-ins with air-cooled equivalents. And this resulted in a 59% reduction in water usage, which can add up a lot in time. In addition, reductions in electricity consumption. So a lot of kind of easy things that are often missed are insulating hot water pipes. We'll often see in the back areas near the hot water tanks and heaters, all of those copper pipes that are warm to the touch. All of that is thermal energy that's being lost and having to be reheated. So really cheap to purchase insulation for that and save a pretty decent amount of money per month. Another easy one is just swapping out incandescents and fluorescent lights with high efficiency LED alternatives, installing strip curtains on walk-ins, and then looking for areas to purchase Energy Star appliances when they replace some of their older appliances. So would really recommend taking a look at some of the appliances or energy fixtures that you have on site and seeing where you could swap these out. if you go to BC Hydro, they have product guides with rebates and can kind of help offset that upfront cost of purchasing the efficient alternative. The next business that I'm going to talk about is a resort based in Pacific Rim on Vancouver Island. So this is a little bit different of a tourism provider, but than the last one, but they were a lot of a smaller operation. So they had 16 guest rooms and they were in a very remote location. So not able to drive to it. You have to take a boat to a remote island in order to get there. So that definitely brings some challenges, kind of being cut off from easy access to the rest of the community. But we noticed after kind of working with them that they had some really cool innovative practices that came from the fact that it was really hard for them to access just the kind of main town nearby. So some really cool circular actions that they achieved after our circularity report was they had a really great project with a local First Nation. So they were in the process of renovating the facility, getting new furniture, upgrading the finishings, that kind of a thing. So what they did was they brought in a local woodworker to build deck furniture and teach youth from the local First Nations community how to build this. So really kind of pulling in the local community, building that skill set and just getting the youth engaged. So wood scraps from this project, they were not thrown out. They were used to build a boardwalk on the property. There was also some extra furniture that was built by the youth, and all of this was sold with proceeds going to fund their basketball team, which was really cool. And then the excess materials were sent to the local First Nations Building Authority. The next one, I think I skipped ahead a little bit on my transition, but kind of related to their remote location. They didn't have easy access to get to the local recycling facility. So whenever they would have waste, they would have to pile it on their kind of transportation boat in these garbage bags and go back and forth between their location and the town, which was pretty wasteful with gas, and they were trying to find ways to reduce the number of trips that they had to take just because it was pretty expensive. So they are in the process of looking at an on-site pelletizer for some of the plastics that they deal with. So they do a lot of ocean plastics cleanups and are able to potentially build an on-site pelletizer to transform those waste plastics into a new plastic material. So they've connected with some potential partners on this project, one of them being a local skincare products brand that would potentially be interested in using that recycled plastic for their packaging. They've also been in talks with a local university to help implement this. They also, for their gift shop, started looking into procuring some local circular products. So really did a deep dive on some local suppliers and really wanted to support them and have them sold in the gift shop. So if you are an accommodation provider, or if you do sell retail goods, recommend just taking a look at the local suppliers or any circular businesses in your area and supporting them and partnering with them. And then lastly, some high efficiency upgrades as they were in the process of finishing their renovations. There were a lot of easy wins just to reduce the utilities usage from their operations. So things like draft sealing all of their exterior doors, insulating their hot water pipes, installing low flow shower heads and faucets and toilets, and again, looking at Energy Star appliances, which use significantly less energy than traditional ones. Next, I wanted to talk about other circular solutions that tourism providers can use just to increase circularity in their operations. So one that I'm a big fan of that we've been seeing a ton of hotels and accommodation providers switching to is just refill programs for their amenities. So kind of swapping out those single-use plastic bottles for shampoos and conditioners and soap with refillable models. So there's a really cool business on Vancouver Island that partners with accommodation providers and vacation rentals across the island. And they have non-toxic cleaning products as well as hygiene products for both the front of house and back of house. They offer free delivery and pickup service for refills, and really just aim to eliminate those single-use plastics. So since November 2019, they've had some really great impact in the local area. So prevented over 3 million single-use plastics, built an ecosystem of over 20 hotel partners and 60 rentals, and kind of diverted 600,000 gallons of kind of traditional products from entering the water systems, kind of opting for those more eco-friendly options. So some of the benefits that they list for their hotel and accommodation partners are better staff retention, positive customer reviews about the eco-friendly products, and just really good kind of marketing as well. Kind of putting your kind of eco-friendly values into action, and be able to share that success story and have your guests take part in it as well. So according to a study listed on Surfrider Foundation Canada, there are also a lot of financial benefits to installing these refillable amenities. So based off of this study, installing 2 dispenser systems in each room, this could result in $10,000 of savings per year. So obviously there are different assumptions to be made, but this one's assuming a hotel with 300 rooms, $32 per unit, and a 60% occupancy of the hotel. But really, eventually moving away from that kind of single-use model, and that refillable model can be a lot more cost effective in the long term. Another solution that I really wanted to highlight is an organization called Soap for Hope. But a lot of the time, hotels will have retired linens or excess toiletry products that normally would have gone to landfill, but they accept donations of soap and linens. The donations are used to support community needs for hygiene products and textiles. So in 2022, over 177,000 linens were distributed to their community partners, over 2 million hygiene products, and over 130,000 kilograms of waste was diverted from landfill. So really cool cause that you're able to contribute to.
Thank you, Maddie. You've heard from some businesses around BC about the circular actions that they've taken, but there are many tourism businesses here in Squamish itself that are also shifting to more circular practices in their operations. Now I'd like to introduce Alana, who's the Director of Sustainability for a local tourist attraction in Squamish, about actions that they are taking to make their business more sustainable.
Okay. So when our attraction was built, we installed diesel generators at the top. So we didn't run the power to the top of the mountain, which has a big restaurant. And so the operation has been running on diesel generators for 10 years. And our biggest opportunity to reduce our emissions was to electrify. So it took us 7 years to get approvals, and we completed that project last summer. It will save 400 tons of CO2 emissions every year. As you can see here, this is us getting rid of our diesel tanks, which was a really big day. And we've also found that inside of the building, because we were able to switch from some propane heaters to electric, we've also reduced our propane consumption by 32% in the first year. And on the demand side, we have worked with BC Hydro and we've conducted energy audits. We've installed heat pumps, which are super efficient, but also offer cooling. We switched to LED lighting. We've done programmable thermostats. And so basically BC Hydro comes in, looks at our buildings and gives us our top things that we can do. And we've done pretty much all of them. If you want to go to the next slide. So one of the things, we talk about circularity especially is we want to look at what we're purchasing first. And so we developed a responsible procurement plan this year. What we did find is sustainability it's more than environmental sustainability. So we do look at the social side, we look at other aspects of sustainability, but essentially we're trying to focus on local suppliers, purchase things that are more durable, more environmentally friendly products, only buying what we need. Oftentimes we think about things like diversion, and a diversion number is really just the percentage of stuff that you have that can be recycled or composted. But that's not really what we're going for, because you could have a whole bunch of single-use stuff and have a really good diversion number. So we're really focused on that reduction and kind of reducing from the source and making sure that we're sort of following our values as we're doing our purchasing. And then we developed a bunch of tools in order to do that, like scorecards and little sheets and things that our purchasers can use. We have a green team, so that's how we sort of engage with all of our staff. We have representation from all of our departments. We meet monthly. It's very targeted with campaigns and behavioral change. So we basically choose a habit, and you can see in the corner here, we recently ran a waste campaign where we asked our employees to focus on sorting waste correctly. And then we run a campaign for several weeks with the goal of them developing habits and kind of creating these social norms around these sustainable behaviors. And then we just encourage all of our staff members to participate. There were prizes, there were videos posted. We really try to get everybody involved. And you can go to the next one, please. So our waste management program, we definitely customize that, and we find that this is the best way to get people to sort correctly. So we start by purchasing with the end of life in mind. So trying to purchase things that are reusable and durable and that we can recycle or compost at the end of life. We did customized waste sorting stations in all of our employee locations. So you can see here, there are photos of the actual items that are generated in those areas. So the one on the left is an office. It has a certain type of waste, and then at the top is a restaurant. In the middle, is a restaurant, and that has different items. So each of those areas has specific items that people are using in that area. So an example is in the maintenance shops, they love to go down the street to the Mexican restaurant. So we went and got all the packaging from the Mexican restaurant, got photos taken of it, and created the signage so that they know where all of that packaging goes. We are going to be expanding this to our bear bins this summer. So we need bear-proof bins, and we'll have guest-facing signage. So another example is there's a food truck at the bottom, and we will have the packaging from the food truck on the bin so that you will know where to put it. And we'll opt for compostable packaging because it's going to have food all over it. So those are just some of the things we do to try and have the best program possible, reducing at the source, sorting as best as possible, and then getting everybody involved.
There is so much great work and innovation coming from businesses. Here are a few more circular solutions and opportunities we have found from working with tourism businesses. On the financial side, you can use wage subsidy programs to help support increased capacity for sustainability practices. Maybe it can help fund a sustainability position in your organization. Some hotels have also implemented an eco fees. There are organizations that run these, like the Eco Fund, that allow you to add a fee to guest rooms per night. These small fees can help fund carbon reduction projects on the property. Restaurants and tour operators could also add eco fees to support more capital intensive projects, for example, adding a solar panel. And a couple more ideas are to create a green team or a zero waste champion, depending on the size of your business, to encourage zero waste practices within your operations. This can include monitoring and sorting waste, identifying contamination, tracking waste diversion, and finding opportunities to enhance sustainability initiatives and communicating best practices to staff. You can also ensure job descriptions include your sustainability values and commitments. This can help attract environmentally minded team members to your team as well. And if you are interested in learning a bit more about circular economy, get an overview, look at tangible business solutions, and find resources for further learning, you can find our business guide to circular economy on Project Zero's website. You can also access these free waste audit tools to help you understand your waste in more detail. We've got general waste audit, food waste audit, and a waste diversion tracking tool. EDX offers free self-paced introductory courses on circular economy, and their content includes value creation through recycling and reuse, circular solutions design, and individual contributions to the circular economy. There are also many certification programs for tourism businesses, which help recognize the efforts that you're taking as well as help you along your sustainability journey. These include Green Key, Biosphere certification, as well as BC Green Business Certification Program. And once again, I'd like to thank the District of Squamish and the Province of BC's Rural Economic Diversification and Infrastructure Program for making this webinar series possible.